Right then, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson, 5 things that we learned watching United against West Ham. And there's a fair bit to get into, I think, which I probably didn't cover too well yesterday in the review. I was just mad. And not even mad at the result, mad at the fallout of the result. Like, it wasn't very much expected in a way. But let's start with Lenny Yoro, at least anyway. The injury to Yoro could be way more damaging than the loss against West Ham. Yoro had really begun to hit peak form, consistent, just week in, week out, just 7s and 8s out of 10. He was having a fantastic run of form. And even yesterday, he completed 41 out of 42 of his passes, 98% before he was subbed off. Now, United had a very good in-possession game yesterday in terms of control. Now, my issue after the game last night was about how we just hadn't taken control in the slightest of penetration and chance creation. And I know we ended up the game with a better XG than West Ham, but for all the possession that we did have, the chances that we created was absolutely minimal. And as soon as West Ham got their 2 goals, they literally just sat in and was like, yeah, deal with that. At times they controlled the ball, at times we controlled the ball. It was just it was a boring game, really, wasn't it? In terms of like just 2 teams that just totally half-assed it. But anyway, I'm back on Euro. The Europa League final against Tottenham is literally around the corner. We are talking next week. And that is a problem. You know, that is a real problem for us. It's extremely close. And whatever this injury is an issue. Hindsight is 2020. And I thought a lot of these players required playing yesterday. And Chelsea is the game that you do wrap everybody in cotton wool, because they're going to play. They're going to play in training. They're going to train a dozen times between now and the Tottenham game. You know, there's a lot of opportunities for injury. You can't just completely wrap everyone in cotton wool. But questions will be asked about whether or not he needed to play in that game. You know, especially after he played the whole game on Thursday night. But is that on the manager or is that on the player's durability? It seems to have been the same injury that he's been laid out with previously, so I don't know. Not a good sign either way. Number 2, Mayu still looks lost. He's had a real stop-start, underwhelming season. You know, we are with the penultimate home game of the season. We have got 2 league games and a Europa League final to go. It's basically the end of this season, and that game for Kobe Mayu yesterday against West Ham really sort of epitomised how his season has gone. Fitness concerns have plagued him throughout the season. Against West Ham, he had an 88% pass completion, 38 out of 43. But he struggled in his duels. He only won 3 out of his 9. He looks uncomfortable on the pitch. Like, I think he's a serious talent with some serious attributes that make him a real interesting player. But the lack of clarity over his role and, you know, the chop and changing of his role isn't seemingly helping him. He seems to have lost some of his mobility, either following the physical bulk up that he's had or some of the injury concerns. Maybe there's a lack of mobility because of the injuries that he's had. But mobility is absolutely required in this transition-heavy setup under Ruben Amorim. And he is a midfielder that's probably an 8 in a system that fields only 6s and 10s. His body language seems a little bit off it. Amorim's body language towards Mayu seems a little bit off it. He might be one that the manager decides to move on, and I think that would be a shame, because I think he's one that turns up, puts in reliable performances. He's got great decision making, but he doesn't appear to be a tactical fit in his current shape. So whether or not a pre-season, loads of icky shuffle drills can get him to the point where he's actually an asset to this team, I don't know. he's got a lot of the attributes that you want, but his mobility is an issue. If he can get more mobile, he might be able to maximise his talent and he might be able to find a place for him in this team. But right now, a little bit like Bruno, but Bruno's mobility and work rate just seems to take him away from the dramas of not quite being a natural fit. Mayu's lack of mobility seems to be exacerbating the fact he's not a natural fit. So it is a concern. It's absolutely a concern. If you've ever landed in a new country and immediately lost all your mobile service, I think that's happened to all of us, right? No signal, no maps, no way to contact anyone. Suddenly, your adventure starts with stress, which is no good. And that's why Saily exists. And that's the sponsor of today's video. And it's very, very simple. It's an affordable eSIM app, which means that you can connect the moment that you land. You don't need a SIM card. You don't have to mess around with anything like that. There are no roaming fees, no Wi-Fi hunting, just fast, reliable data in over 200 countries. If you've never used an eSIM before, don't worry. It is incredibly easy. You just download the Saily app, you choose the plan that fits your trip, activate it, and that's it. There's no hardware, there's no shipping, there's no waiting for something to be delivered, there's no airport hassle. You just turn it on and it just works. And whether you're heading for a weekend trip or you're planning something like a multi-country tour, Saily gives you seamless connectivity wherever you go. And if you're not sure that your phone supports the eSIMs, they're going to let you know. They offer a full refund if it isn't compatible. New customers can get 15% off by using the code Howson, that's Howson, at checkout if you visit saily.com/Howson to grab your discount. So if you're planning a trip or if you're thinking about one, download the Saily app right now and be ready to use it when it's time to go. Stay connected, skip the stress, and travel like an absolute pro. Thanks to Saily for sponsoring today's video, and welcome to hassle-free traveling. Number 3, I did cover this last night, but I'm covering it again. Hojlund. The frustrating inconsistencies continue. He's having clear-cut opportunities, and he's failing to deliver them. He missed 2 massive goal-scoring opportunities, and the clinical finishing was the one thing that he had. He didn't get a lot of chances, but when he got his chances, he finished them. Well, that's no longer the case. His in-box anticipation is a concern. He's either unaware or hesitant in crucial moments. I go back to that quote I remember from Gary Lineker. I'm going to make that run 10 times. And on the 10th time, the ball comes. And on the 10th time, it looks telepathic. And it's not. It's a case of players are trying to put the ball in the right place and you're trying to run to anticipate to be in the right place. And you make that run all day long. And if it doesn't come, keep making the run. If it doesn't come, keep making the run. And by the time you end up putting the ball in the back of the net, you only got to do that. You only have to do that once every other game to be considered a good striker, right? Think about that. You might need to make 20 runs to get 8 shots to score 1 goal. Those are the numbers that you're dealing with a striker, but you have to meet everybody halfway. He doesn't run until the ball starts coming. That's the big issue. He doesn't run on the off chance that the ball ends up in the right zone. People go, he's not getting the ball. He's not fucking working for the ball. I'm literally seeing Cheeto coming in and getting more shots per 90 than Rasmus is. How's that work? How's an actual child who's genuinely still miles off being Manchester United's first choice striker coming in and getting ahead of his first choice striker? As I said yesterday after the game, when you look at the options United used to have just for striker, let alone winger, when we had Ronaldo, Cavani, Martial, and Mason Greenwood, and then out of all of those, Rasmus is 5th. I don't know if he'll be here next year. I know he will not be United's number 1. And if he is, strap in because we are not doing anything. Number 4, same old physical issues. Our ongoing struggles against physically assertive teams are again exposed. Kudos, we should have known about. A dynamic physical presence, totally outmatched our defence. I was looking at one of the corners and I was like, the only height that we have got in this team is Lenny Yoro and Rasmus Hojlund. And I'm looking at Luke Shaw and Harry Amas at the back post, and I'm going... And I'm looking at Bruno and Ugarte and Amas, and I'm thinking, we are such... Ahmad. And we are such a small team. And Ugarte plays like a big bloke, but he's not a big bloke. And you see when Casemiro's in the team, the difference that happens when we're in there. Ugarte wasn't winning his duels. We didn't win our duels. The 50-50s yesterday went to West Ham. And yes, the West Ham game in isolation, not massive deal. But this has been the story of our season. When we win our duels, we win our battles, we win our games. When we don't, we don't. It's very, very simplistic analysis. But the more duel winners you have in a team, the better you do. And you're like, oh, really? Wow. But that's the case. You can't have too many players that are not winning their duels. It's basics. Win your battles. Second balls yesterday. I don't know if anyone ever heard of them yesterday. The game was played in first gear. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And 5, Europa League pressure. I mentioned the stats, the 6 in 25. How many of those last 5 or 6 or 7 Premier League matches coming on the back of or prior to a Europa League game, which is absolutely critical? All of the teams involved in Europe this week lost 2-0. You can't tell me there's not something in that. But that stat is real. There's no asterisk against it which says, yeah, we did lose, but no, he lost them games. His position is precarious. We are looking at the worst run of form since the season we got relegated. He's under severe scrutiny. He's got 90 minutes, not even to be considered a success. For a lot of people, it's going to be whether or not you get the opportunity to impress me next season, let alone, there is no success here. Even winning the Europa League, that's not success. That's kind of like, right, okay, minimum expected achievement, which is mental that winning a trophy is the minimum expected achievement, but it is. Do I think they'll sack him if he doesn't? No, I don't. And I don't think they should either. I think people need to be very real and acknowledge the absolute shit show. Like I said yesterday, look at the forward line we had under Ollie. And that team was not good enough. And that team is so many levels ahead of where we are right now. You can't compare the circumstances other managers have had at other clubs to what we're seeing here, because this team is not on the same level as previous United teams, for starters, let alone some of the teams around us. Are we better than the likes of Wolves and West Ham? On one hand, yes. Right? I think we have a better defence. I think we have a better midfield. On the other hand, no. I think they have better forwards. And also, we're playing midweek. People go, well, United should be able to play midweek. They should. But we're clearly prioritising the Europa League. He has to win the final. He has to win the final. But I'll be able to find a silver lining in the fact that he doesn't, because one game a week, even though for me that's shit for views, like one game a week is a nightmare. I need 2 games a week. But one game a week, that'll give him a lot of time on the training ground to get this in him. People are like, who's he improved? Who's he had fucking time to improve? Look how many games we have played every single fucking week in this last 6 months. It's been 2 games a week. There is no time on the training pitch to teach someone fuck all. None. So it's a case of get Champions League and consider it the minimum expected achievement, or don't get Champions League. Everyone sees their ass, but actually you'll get a lot more time coaching everyone on the pitch. Which one do you want? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Rocking a hard place time. Let me know your thoughts. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.